Hi guys, so this is the answer key for the rhythm quiz. So first going over the rhythm identification section, the first example was in 2-4. A really good way to spot this is if you look at like measure 6 and 7, we have quarter rest, quarter note. Pretty clear that it's 2 quarter note beats per measure. And we also can see that we have, when we have eighth notes in this, they're divided into groups of 2 eighth notes, which gives us the idea that this is what we would call a simple meter, which means that we're going to have the 4 on the bottom. So it's 2 quarter note beats, and when the quarter notes get divided, they're divided into 2 eighth notes. So if we look at the next two, these get a little bit trickier. So number 2, a lot of people said it's in 3-4, and it's not right, but it's a decent answer because there is actually there is the equivalent number of beats in this to being in 3-4, but one thing that we have to remember is that when we see groups of 3 eighth notes, when we see eighth notes grouped together in threes, that's a dead giveaway that the bottom number of our time signature is going to be 8, because that means that we have a compound meter, which means that when we have eighth notes, they're typically showing up in groups of 3, and that tells us that the bottom number is going to be an 8. So if we think about that and then we count the number of eighth notes in each measure, this would be 6, 8. So pause it and see if you can figure out what would be number 3. If we're thinking about, if we see 3 eighth notes in a group, that means the bottom number is going to be 8, and then we just count up the number of eighth notes in each measure. So pause it and see if you can figure it out. So the bottom one would be in 9, 8, because we can see that we have groups of 3 eighth notes, so that we know the bottom number is going to be 8. And if we count it up, we can see that in a lot of the measures we have a group of, a great example would be measure 6 and 7 again. We have 3 eighth notes, and then we have 2 dotted quarter notes. So remember that dot adds half the value of the quarter note. So a dotted quarter note equals 3 eighth notes. Okay, dotted quarter note equals 3 eighth notes. So 6 and 7 are a good example to show that this one is in 9, 8. Now, I gave partial credit for good answers that weren't quite right. So again, nobody should have gotten like too many points taken off. And this is a lot of rhythm information to jump in. For some of you, this is kind of your first time really working with these kind of things. So this is a lot. These are tricky. So just something to keep in mind. Those are the answers to the identification section. Now I'm going to go through and I'm just going to perform the 3 rhythms from the performance section for you so you can see how they're supposed to go. So here's number 1. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3. 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, rest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, rest. Here's number 3. With this one, you want to start a little bit slower because of those 16th notes. You have to fit 4 of those into one beat. So let's try this one a little slower. 1, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, rest. 2 and 3, 1, 2, 3, and a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2, 3, 1 and 2 and 3, 1, 2, 3. And here's the last one. Can go a little bit faster because no 16th notes. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rest. 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 4 and 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, rest, rest. All right, so you can go ahead and review that, maybe compare with your video if there's any. I tried to put some specific things in there if there was one thing that maybe you needed help with, but you can definitely review this and take a look at your video to make sure that you've got everything just right. So let me know if you have questions.